Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for another naughty or nice episode that I have for you today. As we're sailing in Salem in the Tears of the Desert, or Tears of the Cruisers, as this map is infamously known for, where we're going to be having a naughty or nice video. And I'm going to talk about, I might be giving it away a little sooner than intended, so to speak, but it's kind of one of the talking points in this video today. In the aspects of whether at times you have a lot of toxicity happening in the game, or you even have some niceness. And what ends up happening in this game is something that I don't see very often. I mean, usually I try to initiate it, sometimes from my end, just kind of depending. Here I'm just taking some shots to catch Lepanto off guard as he's reversing into my gun range, but I'm able to stay dark because he's reversing into my gun range, so in case you're wondering what's going on there. But in this battle, I kind of talk about what happens in this battle that leads up to the main talking point of what will happen later in this video, is that essentially what's happening is we've lost the southern flank. Our team's kind of in this kiting stance. We've been sitting up here at Alpha. The enemy battleships are all hanging back, as it were. So we farmed some fire damage earlier for the 34,000, but they're not pushing in. You can see them all kind of up in the square, hurting, staying together as they move away. So essentially, what I want to do here is have some map awareness to see if I can shift into helping my team with, looks like this kind of perhaps push that's going to form up from C towards Bravo, so we can kind of fighting more in the cap. But I popped some shots here because I'm trying to force the enemy battleships back a little bit further since this Republic was slowing down, and utilize the island to give me some cover. But then we had several cruisers firing at us there, so we're going to switch back down to Bravo, and we're going to continue on the fight there. Now, to kind of begin to talk what the main topic of today's video, in World of Warships, you have times that your team is really good, you have time that the enemy team is really good, and then of course you have times where perhaps you have people cussing out people in chats because you're so frustrated if your team lost. You don't always see much encouragement. Like, let's say you all fought and did a good game, right? I still see players, I can be on the same team, whine, complain, and moan because you had a good game, or you're doing really good, and like, it's still not good. So it's kind of, I mean, honestly, World of Warships is somewhat of a toxic player base to extent. I mean, there are definitely good people who play this game, and not every game is toxic. But it's like, yeah, you could even, like, I play co-op at times, and I still get people upset with me in co-op, and it's just like, it's just people, the need for somebody to complain about something is always present and never needing. So, with having said that, that's kind of what makes this video a little bit interesting, different, and unique, because we don't really have that happening in this game as far as I remember in terms of the chat memory. But it's more of what does it look like when you as a team, whether it's yourself and other people, are kind of talking about, hey, enemy team kind of did kind of good here. Like, we kind of got outplayed. That's generally the kind of the drift of how this video ends up going. The concept of complimenting someone who beats you is far be it removed from this day and age in World of Warships, when you get outplayed, right? And then people get really annoyed and all about that. So example, one of the things we have here is we have this Ragnar player. The Ragnar player is doing exactly what he should be as a gunboat. Like, I want to be able to take kind of a posture up on this island, but he's going to be spamming shells at us because he is a gunboat destroyer, right? So I'm trying to see if I apply a little pressure on him. Will he, like, silence himself and go away? But at the same time, like, he's skilled. I recognize his skill in the sense that he's just going to be going forward, reverse. If he decides to pop his engine boost, he can do that as well. So he's really kind of preventing me from exerting more of an influence over the Bravo cap, right? Because even if I push more up into the cap on the center island in the cap, like, I'm still going to have to deal with him, right? He's also providing spotting for his team. So like here I'm getting outplayed by a Ragnar, you know, and Ragnar can be very viewed. I mean, in the hands, I mean, there's definitely many ships in this game, like in the hands of a really good player, like that ship, you just kind of like, oh, that's such a toxic boat, right? Like I would say Varese, Ragnar, Marceau, Kleber, a Colombo, a Thunderer, even a Conqueror, Golden Lion, Prince Vandalenja, Smalland. Like there's just these boats in the game that are in the hands of a very capable player. Like it's a very toxic boat, right? And that's because it's a skilled player playing it, right? So then you have, as time goes on here in World of Warships, you know, that to make the boat semi-possible for, let's say, more average or, you know, let's be honest, player skill has dropped in the game in my 5 years of playing. So to make it more enjoyable, to keep people playing the game, they have to buff, or they make these strong ships even more absurdly strong. So then the minority or the percentage of, like, let's say Super Unicum, or like just really good players have even more phenomenal games in these kind of ships in what can be viewed as, oh, it's a very toxic boat yet you're playing, right? But it's actually like the player is quite skilled. Like I've seen bad players in really good ships, and it's like, oh, it's not a toxic boat because this player doesn't really know and understand what they're doing. So I say all that because the art of just being able to compliment someone for doing a good job in World of Warships, you know, on the opposing team or even your own teammate, it seems to be kind of a loss in the game, right? Like to have that kind of camaraderie of the naughty or nice, you know, when I was talking with Mrs. Flimsy, kind of that idea of trying to do some type of video series, and she's like, she helped me kind of flesh it out and refine it, if you will. Just chatting with her. It was like, oh yeah, I could also not just focus on the toxicity aspects, those naughty encounters that you can have with players in the game, but also like try to have an emphasis to have some good talking points, right? Because, you know, in reality, we live in this day and age where drama, toxicity, bad news, you know, all those things sell. Like a lot more people react and respond and engage with the media, the press, when it's negative material, right? Versus like positive material. I think there used to be, maybe they still do it, there was a US based news source, and they had all this negative news, and then they started to do at the very end of the evening primetime news, at the very end they would have like a kind of a shining light in making things a little bit better with how the news ended after talking about all these like depressing things. And I actually really like that, right? But, you know, positive news doesn't sell. Like negative news sells much better, much more engagement, all these kind of things, right? So you see, I mean, I could go also psychological or, you know, the sociology of media and talk about how does that even spill over into video games. I feel like I'm going a lot deeper with this Naughty or Nice video than I was anticipating. But you could talk about how like that spills over, right? Like media is based as this knee-jerk reaction. It's when you only read the headline, like they have to try to have a type of title to the video. I mean, YouTube videos are a very prime example of like kind of rage bait, or not only rage bait, there's another word I'm looking for. Like there's something to like oversells the video much more than what it actually is, right? I forget the English term right now as I keep learning Norwegian. But I try not to do that, like, or like oversell a video and it's like, wait, Flimsy doesn't talk about anything in that video. I mean, maybe there's been a couple times I've not done that quite right and I missed the mark. But in general, I don't like trying to oversell and have these like super or clickbait video titles that then not talk about it in the video at all, like just to get more people to click and watch the video, right? So yeah, why'd I say that? We're going to be getting into it pretty shortly here in the battle. Pay attention to our Minotaur friend here in this battle, because he's been playing a really good game. Yeah, he should still be alive. Yeah, he's still alive. I can see his salvos coming in on the enemy Republic. You know, the one we were originally shooting at up at like B3 or B4, B5, whatever. But, you know, him and I are going to start having a conversation talking about like, wow, like, this team did good, or this specific action, you'll see it when it comes, like they did really good here. Like we are trying to, I mean, we have the points lead here, right? So kind of this, where I want to go with this video is like being able to have the grace of like losing a game in World of Warships gracefully, right? It's rare. You don't see it very often, if I'm being completely honest, right? As we get our second kill here. So we're swinging things in our favor. You know, we're 175 points roughly ahead. But we are losing points now because enemy team has 2 caps while we only retain the 1. We need to be able to push back in here. So I kind of went in this kiting stance because if the Ragnar re-engaged with me, I wanted to be able to maneuver a bit more to deal with it. But now we're just trying to sort out where are the remaining enemy destroyers, because when you have, you know, in a situation, oof, like, yeah, he just ate like 16 406s. When you have in World of Warships, typically speaking, I mean, it varies, right? You can get some really derp things happening with destroyer players, but typically the team that has the remaining destroyer players, and if your team doesn't have any remaining destroyer players, it's usually the team with the destroyer players that have more of an advantage to the end, right? I mean, how many times have you played a game in World of Warships and all 3 of your destroyers die within the first 4 minutes of the battle? Like, pretty common, you know, let's be honest here, right? So what I'm wanting to do here is come down and help the our other battleship. The Hanover's kind of been chilling out in the back for a while, so we kind of tease and have fun with him there. But I want to go down and deal with the Ragnar, but I'm not going to be able to go down and deal with the Ragnar when I have an Izumo, which I don't like the boat, Izumo, because it has such a very big vertical dispersion, and it makes it feel very inaccurate to me, so I just don't like it. But I need to respect it's still a battleship that needs to be taken out here, and I'm kind of keeping that island between me and the main in the middle, the island in the middle of Bravo. And I want to help the Minotaur out to take some stress so he doesn't have a battleship sitting right in front of him as you see our mains contesting the cap. So I'm switching some shots here because the gearing popped up. The gearing's low, so I'd really much like to get rid of him. And gearing takes out our Minotaur. So you can see our Minotaur there in chat going, wow. And then he ends up talking to me about the torp prediction. So he's like complimenting. He was like, wow, like that's some really good torpedo prediction that gearing had, right? As I'm still trying to avoid main salvos because he think he can actually begin to lob the island in Bravo now. Or maybe he's not quite there. So it's like, yeah, I got outplayed there. You know, good on the gearing. He got the torps off and dropped him right where, you know. I think Minotaur was feeling the pressure if he didn't want someone getting around on the top side of Bravo. So he came down to try to get in the island, and he thought he was safe, right? And most destroyer players can take really good advantage of, if you play it right, take really good advantage of catching out a cruiser or battleship player that feels safe is often the ones that are most at risk of like getting killed by a destroyer torpedoes or, you know, a long range salvo from a main like the Takahashi went through. And so now I'm going to be teasing here in chat. Now Hanover push, as he's been up there in the cap the whole time because I tried to encourage him not to overextend earlier in the game. To go chasing 3 battleships, right? That never works out. Pushing 3 battleships into a gear and a Hindenburg all kiting from you wouldn't have worked out good for him, you know. But it wasn't his timing was a bit off there. And then just kind of joking, you know, this Ragnar be toxic, right? I have Ragnar, really great boat. So rather than just, you know, me or maybe even the Minotaur player going to all chat, or I don't think even the Republic here does it, you know, go to all chat and then just start like cursing and, oh, my team sucks, this Ragnar, you know, wishing bad things on the Ragnar or the Ragnar player's family. Like, people do that in World of Warships. It's nuts. It's bizarre. It doesn't make logical sense, right? But just to be able to like lose gracefully is such a, it's a nice trait. You know, and I'm wanting to highlight that in the Not Your Nice series. It is a really nice trait. If you learn the art of losing gracefully in World of Warships, like we all get outplayed here. You know, enemy team's about to hit 1,000 points, about to take Republic off the board. And so they get both 1,000 points and killing an entire team. So it's like, they played really well. Like, yeah, we got 3 kills, we did 150,000 damage, but it wasn't enough, right? Enemy team was just better. So If you liked today's Naughty or Nice video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to continue to see videos like this, and I've got some veteran player guide videos coming up, particularly with destroyers and spotting damage. So, thank you to our Patreon supporters, and I hope you're having a good weekend. Until next time, take care.